Hello, Malty, Marillion, Meatloaf, Manic Street Preachers. I'm Ralphie. Welcome to Ralphie Review 952. And a big thank you for the malt mention to Gel Martin Loaf. There we go. I hope I pronounced that right, Gel. Yes, I think I did. Or Gelé. Right? Well, anyway. Welcome, malt mates and whisky fans, to a Scotch whisky review. You're in the bothy. It's what we do here. It's our little specialised bespoke corner of YouTube, and I'm about to review 15-year-old Benromach single malt Scotch whisky bottled at 43%. There we go. Let's pop the cork. I've been spending a bit of time with this. Longer than normal. In fact, I've been sipping this whisky for about 2.5 months, and I hear what you're saying. What you're thinking about? I think I know what you're thinking. Saying, "Hey, Ralphie, if you've been sipping this whisky for 2.5 months, how come the fill level is so high in the bottle?" And the simple fact is that physically, I consume very little whisky, because I'm focusing on quality. So the idea that I'll open a bottle of whiskey and it'll be done and dusted by the end of the week, it never happens. It never has happened in over 30 years. I am a seriously slow whisky drinker. The side effects of that, the consequences are quite simply that because it's happening so slowly, you're focusing on the flavour more, because you're not distracted by the rush of inebriation, intoxication from the whisky, which you will get after about 3 or 4 glasses. I can assure you, right, this is more, it's an opinion, but it's more than an opinion. In my opinion, this is a fact. There we go. An awful lot of people think they're drinking whisky, but what in fact they're drinking, what in fact is happening is drinking alcohol, which is a whisky label on it, because they're rushing too fast, they're not taking the time, and they're not developing the subtleties and the fine tuning. This, for me, is a size of glass that would last me 2 of these an entire evening. That's literally how little I consume. There has been times in the past I've consumed a lot more, and I'm going to do a video about that in the new year. So moving back to Benromach. When I'm tasting this, I'm tasting physically very little. How much? Let's get a teaspoon in. You ready? Watch the drips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Literally 6 drops worth of whisky actually in my tongue, because much more than that, and you tend to find the alcohol blurs the image of the flavours and sensations. So slow things down, have less in the glass. This is when you'll actually be learning more and discovering more about the flavour and the smell and the sensation range, the form and the character of single malt whisky. And Benromach is a really good old-fashioned style of single malt to do with that with. It's generally available. It's certainly for the quality. It's a lot more affordable than many of its rivals, who like to big themselves up and claim that they're something special when in fact they're not really. If anything, Benromach undersells itself, partly due to some drastic rebranding, which unfortunately it just hasn't worked for the brand, even though technically, it's not that bad. It really, the rebranding of Benromach damaged the distillery. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure it's something that will be addressed in the future, because it has to be. In the meantime, what's being hidden, and this is an opportunity for you, by the way, to, you're improving your stash, you're buying whiskey at today's prices that you can drink tomorrow and enjoy. You need a few bottles of Benromach, and the ones you're looking for are the cask strength, right? Anything 46% and above, you're home and dry. Excellent, seriously, an excellent investment in single malt. Do it now, because things are going to change, because things always do. Nose. Very rich, honeyed, toffeed, mildly toffeed barley sugar. An enormous barley sugar, clean, fresh, zesty, mildly spicy nose. This is really the richness of the character hits you immediately. This is seriously world-class made whiskey, without a shadow of a doubt. At the actual distillery, they really know what they're doing, and they do it very, very well. Back to the nose. The quality of the casks is excellent. There's a lot of first fill ex-bourbon casks here, and you can tell on the nose the freshness and the cleanliness. These are not just standard bourbon, ex-bourbon casks. They're good quality ones, and they're relatively fresh. That comes across loud and clear. Wonderful, building, growing, complex toffee notes. Quite zesty as well. There's a little bit of citrus going on, but citrus and bitter combined. Very enticing for the flavour. And the flavour is very, very small drop. Literally 9 drops. A slightly, quite restrained actually. And it's the bottling strength that does it. It gives you a restrained experience. The nose has got it. The palate, a bit less so. But the palate, clean, fresh, fruity, zesty, very barley sugar, grain-rich, complex and wonderfully made whiskey. I'm going to add a drop of water to it now. This whiskey's been chill filtered. To bottle at 43%, they have to chill filter. Another option would be to filter it without the chilling, but you're still basically, it's the same process at a higher temperature, and it wouldn't make that much of a difference, really. Beware and be warned, malt mates. I'm going to cover this in a video in 2023, in a few months' time. There are whisky producers in Scotland who will claim their whiskey's unchill filtered, but in fact it is still extensively filtered without the chill part. And I notice this tends to be a habit of official Pernod Ricard bottlings, right? And it always, without exception, always reduces the impact and delivery of what is there. This is happening in this instance, but you're still conscious that you're actually engaging in a really good single malt. It just needs that extra bit. And see, if they bottled at 46% and stuck a tenner on top of the price, an extra £10, people would pay it. No problem at all. It's the quality. I've added some water. Definitely starts to develop the arrival. More syrupy, zesty, dry syrup. A little bit of red cola in there, mild peaches, a little bit of slightly sour apricot. Unusual, no, I don't see that in whiskey very often. Sour apricot. Oh, excuse me, a wee bleep there, was my phone. I thought it was the camera switching off. Yoo-hoo, we're still here, we're still going. The development. It's a 15-year-old whiskey, very full-bodied, and it really is displaying a maturity ahead of its years. And it's partly due to the actual richness and substance of the new make spirit and its interaction with good quality first fill ex-bourbon casks in particular. That really shows out well. It falls away a little bit in the finish because of the bottling strength, and also you notice a little bit of flat sour. Now I'd like to advise you that if you do, all you have to do is sit the glass with a lid on it for an hour and let that phase pass. It's coming, in my opinion, and it is my opinion, from the presence of the sherry casks used as part of this batch. Some of these sherry casks have been a little too citrus for their own good, and this has flattened some of the component whiskey in this bottling. And this shows particularly in the most sensitive and delicate part of the single malt, which is the latter part of the development into the finish. That's always where a whiskey shows either strong or weak, each and every time, particularly with age. So you have this slight flat note. You'll be aware of something, but you're not quite sure what it is. So I'm just telling you what it is from my perspective, purely from my perspective. There is a few weak casks in there from the sherry side, and it's something that you get from sherry casks rather than bourbon casks, which is why I am pinning this slight flaw in the gem onto these casks. Some of these casks, not all of them even, because it's slight, but it will pass importantly as the spirit exerts itself with the quality casks that are in this batch. They will start to kind of, like a rising tide, they'll cover these little jaggy rocks of the shortcomings and blemishes that you're finding in the latter part of the development. Some lovely, soft, natural red fruit notes will appear. The quality of the bourbon wood, the American white oak, is just excellent, and you're left with, if you're patient, if you take it nice and slowly, you'll be in the presence of an underpresented classic, absolute classic Scotch single malt whiskey, which deserves more recognition. I think Benromach's day is still to come. I think it will happen, but I think that we're not there yet. What mark would I give this? And this a lot to do with the combination of the lower bottling strength and these some slightly flawed sherry casks. I'm giving this 85 out of 100. I recommend this whiskey. I do. It's for a 15-year-old whiskey, it represents very good value. It's a malt mark, but it's not an integrity malt mark, and this is where the mark shortfall is. If you were to go, instead of the 15-year-old, go for any of the cask strength versions of Benromach, you're going to get something that's near a 90 out of 100 each and every time. So I'm just doing my job here, which is the Anorak, the flawed whiskey drinker. I'm not an expert, not an authority. I'm just someone that's already made a lot of the journey. I'm sharing my journey with whiskey with you so as to help you make your journey faster and more effectively. So, talking of which, if you want to pop back to Ralphie Review 952 Extras, I shall be talking about, and I've written this down so I can focus on it, the biggest single malt question, or the biggest whiskey question, ? It's the biggest question I'm always asked and always have been asked over the years, and I'm going to address that question in the extras. So do join me, and the best way to join me for that video is to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Come on folks, we're coming up to the end of the year. It's a very, very busy time for acquiring whiskey knowledge, whether buying for yourself or buying for others. So subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, click like. And also I've got a Patreon channel. Ralphie is the name of the Patreon channel, and all you have to do is buy me a wee dram and you will get access to additional content, which is worth getting access to because it includes live streams. Yeah. Invitation only live streams. I'm Ralphie. Thank you for watching and keep your moments multi. Bye-bye. I need to change the battery in my clicker.